Hi and welcome back to my breastfeeding support channel, Kindness Milk. I've been wanting to make today's sit-down video for a very long time. I would like to share the breastfeeding journeys that I've had with my 5 children, not just with my subscribers, but also documented for myself, and to share the obstacles and challenges that I have come across in over 10 years of breastfeeding, to give encouragement to a lot of new parents that are at the start of their breastfeeding journey, to show them that it is possible to face the challenges and overcome them with the right support. So as I said, I have been breastfeeding for just over 10 years. My first breastfeeding journey started more than 15 years ago with my eldest, and I'm currently still breastfeeding our 3-year-old son. When I was expecting my first son, I suppose I did have a little bit of an advantage over parents who are expecting their first baby, because I had already been a midwife for 4 years at that point and trained to become a midwife 3 years prior to that. So I had gained some theoretical and practical knowledge around breastfeeding, and I had been exposed to breastfeeding in practice. And I had actually seen that though breastfeeding is something natural, it doesn't always come naturally, and that it is a skill that mothers and babies learn together. So I would always say to take a breastfeeding preparation class if possible, because preparation is key. Because of my training, I could identify that I had somewhat flat nipples, and I researched breastfeeding with flat or inverted nipples, and I just wanted to give myself the best possible start. So I decided that I would wear a nipplet, which is like a thimble-like suction cup in your bra for a certain amount of time during the first 2 trimesters of the pregnancy in your bra, and they can help to invert your nipples a little bit. But it is entirely possible to breastfeed successfully without any special preparation, because babies do not necessarily expect something sticking up when they arrive. They will familiarize themselves with the given anatomy of the mother, and as when you observe babies, you can see that they're rooting and trying to latch onto different things, even dad's shoulders. But this is what I had used, and if you want to find out more about preparing for breastfeeding with flat or inverted nipples, I have previously made a video and it is on my YouTube channel. I will link it here as well, so you can watch that if you're interested. Another thing that I think helped me at the start of my first breastfeeding journey was my mindset and my history, although perhaps I was a little bit naive. But I, as a 7-year-old, could see how my mother breastfed my youngest brother, and I think having that role model really helped, in the sense that I didn't really doubt that it wouldn't work out for me. And yeah, I think that was really helpful going into my first breastfeeding experience. Funnily enough, I was a bit more nervous and anxious going into labor and delivery, and it was a good thing I didn't have a latest estimated fetal weight, because he was a big baby. But that was a good thing for breastfeeding, because he was strong and he could latch on really well, and his breastfeeding just took off. And apart from 2 short bouts of breast inflammation with a low degree fever, so under 38.4, which resolved with cooling and just painkillers and feeding on cue, I didn't have any problems breastfeeding him. I breastfed him exclusively for 6 months, and then I returned to work at around 8 months. So I was faced with the challenges of returning to work and the logistics of expressing at work and then storing the milk. So I have made also previously a whole entire video on returning to work when breastfeeding, and you can watch that here. So when my son was 12 months, and at this point I had been back at work for a few months and back to night shifts as well, and I felt things became quite demanding, and I felt that my body needed a break, so I weaned him off breastfeeding. And then about 3 years later, my second child came along, and breastfeeding again took off quite well, and everything went quite smoothly until about 4 to 5 months into breastfeeding. One day she got really frustrated on my right side. She couldn't empty my right side. I got really engorged and the milk backed up in my breast. And I couldn't really find and get support with this. Even my doctor didn't know what to do. And this went on for about 2 days. I hadn't been an IBCLC at this point yet. So I had, despite being a midwife, never heard of a milk blister. And 2 days as this is going on and I'm getting fuller and fuller and more uncomfortable, I realized that one of my nipple pores was blocked. So I had a blister on top, and eventually it opened up, and in an instance 40 mils sprayed out, and that was a great relief as that blister opened up. Unfortunately, that incident affected my baby's interest in that side, and subsequently even affected the milk supply for my third and fourth breastfeeding journey. So if you ever come across a milk blister, or if you're experiencing milk blisters, I will leave a link in the description box below how you can treat them and where you can find support. Despite the milk blister, she went on to breastfeed for 18 months, and she self-weaned, as I was at this point already 20 weeks pregnant with my third baby. So my third child then fed for 2 years, and everything went quite well with him, although we always struggled a little bit with weight gain. But I think that's more to do with his constitution, his metabolism, as he can eat good portions and is really slim overall still to this day. At this point, having breastfed 3 children, even grew my passion for breastfeeding and supporting parents with breastfeeding and supporting them to reach their individual feeding goals grew even further, and so I decided I would become an IBCLC, a lactation consultant, and I took my IBCLC exam in 2016. Then 2 years later, my fourth child came along, and at this point I had worked as an infant feeding midwife, and I felt that I really wanted to do something more. So I decided that once we had built our milk supply and everything was going quite well, that I would like to donate milk to the milk bank. So I got an electric pump and was really taken aback when I realized that even though I had a great supply, I couldn't pump anything. Nothing really was coming. And I realized that I didn't have a letdown reflex on the pump, because a pump obviously is the mechanical action, very different to how a baby removes milk from the breast. And I eventually found a solution for pumping by feeding my son on one side and pump on the other side, and that having him on one side triggered the milk flow, so I could actually collect some milk and donate it. With the introduction of complementary solid foods, we came across a new challenge in our breastfeeding journey. As we slowly introduced solids, my supply in my right side decreased. And that was still to do with my kids' interest in my right side from that episode with the milk blister with my second child. And probably partly also because when we were co-sleeping at night, his co-sleeper cot was on my left side, so I favored the left side, and so the supply in the left side was already a little bit higher, and he just preferred a faster flow. So this went on until he completely refused the right breast. And I even tried through pumping to increase my supply in this side again, and even considered, or actually tried to introduce a supplemental nursing system, which is a small tube where you can give him the express breast milk through the tube at the breast or formula. I tried to offer him that side when he was just waking up and still a bit sleepy, but he wasn't having any of it and completely refused my right side. I even went to my GP to get a referral for a mammogram and a breast ultrasound, just to ensure that there was no other underlying cause of why he was refusing my right side. Thankfully, everything was well anatomically, and it was just a breast refusal because of low milk supply in that side. It is possible to breastfeed with just one side, and again, I have previously made a video on single-sided breastfeeding, which I will link here. And he happily continued to just breastfeed off the left side until he was 3 years old, even though I ended up a little lopsided, but that evened out again after he weaned off the breast. Shortly before his 3rd birthday, he still was waking at night and he was still feeding at night time. And at this point, it was during the COVID pandemic and we were in a lockdown. We were homeschooling, so we were around the house a lot. So I decided it would be a good time for night weaning. I had always dread night weaning, but it actually went quite well. Then at the right age, because I had tried before and when he was younger, it wasn't successful, but at this point he was ready for it and we night weaned within 1 week. And again, I've made a video on that and you can see that here. When our 4th child was night weaned, we became pregnant with our 5th. And with my 5th baby from the get-go, I was very conscious about the situation of potential low milk supply in the right side. So from early on, I made a conscious effort to offer the right side always a little bit more to establish a really good supply in that side as well. And even though the left side produced a little more again, I was always offering the right, and even at night time made sure that I wasn't only giving the left side. So my 5th baby actually took to both sides and he was happily and is still happily feeding from both sides. He is a 3-year-old toddler now, and I don't know how long our breastfeeding journey will continue. We are currently in the process of reducing nighttime feeding as well, and I'm very happy to continue to breastfeed at some points during the day, like when he comes back from preschool and just wants a little reconnection, and for falling asleep as well. So right now during the day, I would say we offer we go by the La Leche Leak mantra of don't offer, don't refuse, and at night time we are putting some boundaries in place. So if you've made it to the end of this video, thank you for listening to my breastfeeding journeys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you found it interesting and it has given you some encouragement for your own breastfeeding journey, to not give up on a bad day, so that it is truly your decision when you stop breastfeeding, and so that you can reach your individual breastfeeding goal with the right support. You can find a lot of support here on my breastfeeding channel, Kindest Milk, so consider subscribing to my channel. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and I hope that you can have the best breastfeeding journey possible. Bye for now.